Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, if you're listening to this, welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Football. Again, we are glad that you're here and listening. But Logan, how are you doing? How's Christmas? You get anything Ravens related?
I got a signed Lamar Jackson jersey this year for Christmas.
Wow, signed? That's dope.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. That's really the only Ravens thing I got.
I actually got quite a bit. I'm looking at right now, I got a lunchbox, I got 2 beanies, I got like a 3/4 zip for obviously for the Arizona Cardinals. But did you have a good Christmas though?
I did. How about yourself?
I think it was one of the better Christmases I've had in a while. It was I had a really good time. So speaking of Ravens, Logan, I want to get your thoughts on the Ravens missing the playoffs.
I mean, Lamar Jackson was out 6-7 games, was it? I think no, it's probably less than that. Tyler Huntley, really not a bad backup, just couldn't get it done. You know, we had 15, 16 players on IR this year. So,
well, not only was Lamar out, but I didn't Huntley go on the COVID list for a week or two. So then you had Josh Johnson starting.
So I mean, I said this: the injury bug hits a team every year, and this was our year to get hit.
Yeah, but speaking of the team that ended up winning the division, I mean, the Bengals ended up going to the playoffs on the 26th of December. I mean, Joe Burrow threw for 525 yards and 4 TDs. And then speaking of yesterday, they barely squeaked by the Raiders, but they still won, and they're now on to the next round. And we said this months ago, but man, the Bengals have been playing. I mean, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I mean,
Jamar Chase is making people eat the bad things they said about him.
Yeah, especially in the preseason, and I think we even talked about it at some point during the preseason. He wasn't having a great preseason, and people are questioning whether he could play. And he just came and just showed people that there's a reason why the Bengals took him over taking Panay. Yep. So, man, oh man. So
yeah, he's looking good.
Yeah, so let's deep dive before we talk about some older news. Let's just talk about the scores of this weekend so far, because we are in the playoffs. Unfortunately, we haven't recorded since it was like weeks going into week 16 of the regular season. But as we said, your Ravens ended up missing. The Bengals won the division. The Steelers ended up winning, getting the last wild card spot. But so, like we said, the Bengals won 26-19. It was the first playoff game in NFL history in which each team had 4+ made field goals. Now, going to the week previously, when the Raiders ended up beating the Chargers, I don't know if you watched that game, dude, but that was the most intense, craziest game I think I've seen since that Monday Night Football game years ago when the Chiefs-Rams threw for like 1,000 yards and over 100 points and all that jazz. But that was the most back and forth game. Justin Herbert converted on like 5 or 6 fourth downs in a row or something. It was crazy, man. He was fighting for their life. They made it into overtime, and it sounded like the Raiders were willing to take a tie until the Chargers coach took a timeout with like a minute 30 left. And the Raiders, when they were in the little group thing, their group huddle, they're like, let's just go win this game. And they ended up making a couple plays and then hit the field goal to win the game. But I don't know if you watched it, but man, it was a crazy game.
Yeah, I was at work when it happened, so I could see much of it. But I was kind of keeping an eye on it every now and then, and it seemed intense.
Yeah, so the Raiders ended up making, and I know a lot of people have talked about this, but that's just a testament to everything they went through this year, and they were still able to put it behind them, ignore all the, bad publicity they were getting, and they made the playoffs. So, and I know there's a I don't know who end up being the head coach for the Raiders. I mean, that rich guy that they have right now, he did really well, but the history of intern coaches that end up getting hired and doing well after getting hired is not very well. So, just based on that, I would probably stay away from hiring him. But if they do end up staying with him, he ended up winning. He did well enough to win the head coaching job. So we'll see what happens. Again, the Raiders ignored everything that happened this year, and they ended up making the playoffs, which is kind of amazing. What do you think?
Oh yeah, it was. I think it's awesome that they overcome so much just to win the playoffs, or just to get into the playoffs. Good for them. I really see this dude having a head coaching job in the near future.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and the reason he got it is because he's so well liked in the locker room and everything, and he must have been to be able to pull that team together. You know, first round pick getting cut for different reasons, and your head coach at the time had leaked emails, and I mean it was a mess, and they still got through it and made the playoffs. So the next game, let's talk about, man, the Patriots did not show up to their game yesterday or Saturday.
How much of that though was the Patriots, and how much of that was the Bills just clobbering them?
Yeah, well, the Bills finally got what they want. I mean, man, oh man, like Josh Allen is the first QB in Buffalo history with 5 pass TDs and 0 interceptions in a playoff game. So Josh Allen, he showed up. They knew what they wanted to do. The Patriots have a history of knocking the Bills out in the division all these years when Tom Brady was there, and probably in the playoffs. I don't know how many times the Bills made the playoffs over the last 20 years or so, but three Patriots are playing them for the third time this year, and they just clobbered them, as you said, man. It just was not a close game. So
yeah, the Bills came to play.
Yeah, and they advanced to play. Who do they play? The Chiefs, a rematch of the AFC Championship game last year. So I don't know who's gonna win. I mean, the Bills are playing well. The Chiefs are playing well. It's gonna be a good game. I have no idea who to even begin to say who's gonna win that game. So
I kind of hope the Bills do.
it would be nice, especially since, I like Patrick Mahomes. I like the Chiefs, but they have been to the Super Bowl, the last 2 years. So, like, it would be nice to see either the Bills or even the Titans. We're not even talking about the Titans, who ended up winning the number 1 seed in the AFC. And who would have thought after the week 1 they lost to my Arizona Cardinals? If you would have told me 18, 19 weeks ago they would be winning the AFC, I would have been like, what? And if you would have even told me that after, Derrick Henry got hurt and was out for the year, I would have called you crazy. But Derrick Henry is back now, and they had the number 1 seed. They had a bye this week, which this week isn't even over yet because we still have a game tonight, and we'll hit on that a little bit after we get through the rest of these games. So,
So, my thing is, do you think Derrick Henry came back too quick, or you think he just had enough?
Well, he didn't play last week. So again, it's hard to say. We're not in the athletes' bodies. We're not the ones in the doctor appointments or, in the medical rooms or, whatever. So, like, it's hard to say whether he is or not. But hey, number 1 seed in the AFC. Maybe this is Derrick Henry seeing, maybe this is my only chance to maybe win a Super Bowl. I got to give it anything I have, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And if he's not good to go, then he'll just be inactive for the game. So like, not ready, then they got other guys. That are doing well enough to win the number one seed because they didn't have him. The last I don't know when he got hurt, but
I think it was
they
a
have
week.
other running backs that have been filling the hole. So I think they'll be fine if he can't play. But so. And the next game we got really isn't a surprise, but the Buccaneers did end up beating the Eagles 31-15. It says Mike Evans was the first player in Tampa Bay history with 100+ receiving yards and one receiving TD in a playoff game. Now, before we talk about this game a little bit, let's talk about, was it last week or the week before when AB walked off the field? What's your thoughts on that?
We've seen in our lives. We had a Vontae Davis just right in the halftime just quit. He just retired. He goes, I'm done. And back then we're like, man, that's crazy. I don't think we'll ever see anything like this again. And then AB just starts shedding off all of his gear and is gone. He's just gone.
Yeah, and there's mixed reports on what actually happened. It from some point of view, so I'm gonna try to say both of them if I can remember well. But some reports were saying that he was angry that he wasn't getting his touches or receptions that he wanted, because he had these bonuses that he needed to get a certain amount of receptions and yards and stuff like that, or touchdowns to get like $1 million or whatever more. And the thing was, even the previous week, he went up to the Buccaneers front office or whoever you talk to, and he asked if he could just have that $1 million, up front, if they could just give it to him, and they said no. And so apparently he was upset that he wasn't getting them. But other reports are saying, and what AB said, is that he was hurt all week and he didn't practice, or didn't practice much. I don't know if he practiced at all or not. There was reports that he wasn't sure if he'd be able to play. He met with Bruce. They ended up agreeing to play, having him play. And during the game, he said his ankle he couldn't play. And then Bruce Arians got mad and told him to get off the field and all that. So again, I don't know. With everything AB's done, it's kind of hard to believe him. But if it was a scenario where he couldn't play and Bruce was, angry about it, which again, like at first I didn't think about this, but Bruce did have him active. And if he wasn't healthy enough to play, that's just taking away a spot from another guy that could have been activated. So I kind of get being upset in the moment. But at the same time, I don't know what happened. And like I've said, with everything AB has done over the last couple of years, it's kind of hard to even believe whether he's telling the truth or not. And that sucks because, like, you want to believe him, but at the same time,
No, I can totally agree with that. I can agree with you on that. If you say you can play. If you can't play, then don't.
and if he couldn't play, then he should have went back to the medical tent and they could have like looked at his ankle or whatever injury it was. So I don't know. It's crazy, and it's kind of crazy because it seems like it's probably the end of his career. But I don't know. At the same time, I've seen that like it looks like he is getting surgery on his ankle. So again, I don't know what the full story is. And AB ended up coming out like this past week and was like, I probably shouldn't have done what he did. He probably shouldn't have walked off the field like he did. But I guess it was the heat of the moment. But like, again, like his teammates were trying to stop him, and he still did what he did. Like you can only feel bad for him so much. And then after he got released, he ended up going on a podcast and ripping Tom Brady, saying Tom Brady's only friends with him because he's good at football. And this is coming. Tom Brady was the guy that gave him a home in New England after, everything that happened with the Steelers, everything that happened with the Raiders, and the Patriots signed him, and Tom Brady gave him a home. And then he just turns on Tom Brady, saying, and he was just talking bad about how, he's playing for, hardly anything, but his boy Gronk's getting paid, a lot better than AB was. And, AB went on to say that he was the best receiver in that room, which, maybe he is. Again, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Gronk, OJ Howard, they're all good receivers. So it's like, I don't know, like don't rip your it kind of just drama with AB. So and he ended up after he walked out of the field, he posted a song. So I don't know. Maybe he's a rapper now. I don't know. I just hope he gets the help he needs if he does need help. So we'll see if we get.
He'll start talking smack on our podcast.
Hey, AB, if you're listening to this, you want to come onto the pod and tell us the story. If you want to call us names, man, we would love to have you on. We'd love to get name called by you. We just want to know what happened.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So, all right. Next score. How about the 6 seed 49ers beating the 3 seed Cowboys 23-17? San Francisco was the first postseason. This was the first postseason road win versus Dallas in team history. They were previously 0-2. So were you surprised that the 49ers ended up coming through and winning the game?
Honestly, yeah. No. Because the Cowboys,
I think this you
no matter how good the Cowboys are, they always somehow mess up in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. I also think this was the one game I could actually see San Francisco, the under seed team, winning, because I don't know, my Arizona Cardinals destroyed Dallas like a few weeks ago, and we'll end up talking about Arizona a little bit once we get to that little game preview. But this was not a game I thought Arizona could beat the Cowboys, because the Cowboys just have a good offense, and we ended up beating them. And I was really hoping we would face the Cowboys in the postseason, but we ended up losing against the Seahawks in Week 18, and that costs us playing the Cowboys, and we have to play the Rams. So we'll end up getting to that, but good for the 49ers. It looks like Kyle Shanahan is going to stay around. It's kind of interesting because Jimmy G is, still the starting quarterback. He's still playing all these games, and it still seems like they want to trade him and get rid of him. So we'll see how far they go. They play the Packers next week. I really don't think they have a chance in Green Bay next weekend, but they do have a good defense, and San Francisco has a good run game.
Yes.
So that could be what, if anyone could beat Green Bay in the NFC, I really think it could be the 49ers. So we'll see. I'm not sure what will happen, but I don't know. The Cowboys did make the playoffs. They had a 12-5 record, but Mike McCarthy is still not a very good coach. Kellen Moore's getting tons of head coaching position offers and all that jazz. Or not offers, but interviews. So we'll see what happens with the Cowboys. And then let's see. We talked about those 4 games. The last game before we talk about Arizona, the Rams tonight. Sunday night football last night. the freaking Chiefs just slaughtered the Steelers. And Big Ben's probably last game ever. Now, a little note they have here, Travis Kelce was the first player in NFL history with a pass TD, a receiving TD, and 100 receiving yards in a playoff game. But, man, I'm not surprised. Big Ben ended up coming. I think he did an interview earlier this week, and he said, we're probably the worst team in the playoffs. No one thinks we have a chance. We probably shouldn't even be here, but we're just going to go out there and have fun. And it was kind of weird for a quarterback just to be like, we're not the better team. We probably shouldn't be here, but
Yeah, he was
it
just
was
like,
weird for a quarterback to come out and say that. But they ended up showing they shouldn't have been there. So
yeah, he was just like, yeah, we're gonna lose pretty much. He had no faith.
Yeah, that was. I'll be honest. Let's see. I watched a lot of the Raiders Bengals game, but the rest of them I watched bits and pieces, but I was also kind of busy doing other things, so I didn't get to watch. But this was a little fun fact. So I didn't realize this until last night when I saw the tweet or whatever. But I didn't realize Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce are brothers.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I did not. And I never see, I know they have the same last name, but I just never put two and two together. But the fun fact about yesterday was, so the Eagles Buccaneers played the first game yesterday in Tampa Bay. And Travis's and Jason's mom, she went to the Eagles Buccaneers game, and then after the game she got rode straight to the airport, got on a plane, and flew to Kansas City to watch Travis play in the last game on Sunday, which was Sunday Night Football last night. And I think that's just really cool.
That's a supportive parent right there.
That exactly. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I think she ended up missing the first quarter of the Chiefs game, but she still made it to the game, which in itself is pretty amazing. So, again, I'm glad she got to watch both her kids play, but on the bright side, hey, Jason's not playing next week, so I guess she only has to plan to go to Kansas City next week. So, but going into the last game, so tonight, Monday night, first ever Monday night football game for the NFL in the playoffs. I had mixed emotions about being in the Monday night game because whoever wins, whether it's my Cardinals or the Rams, you have one less day to prepare for next week, so that kind of hurts whoever wins this game. And with the 49ers winning, whoever wins this game is going to Tampa Bay next weekend to play Tom Brady in the playoffs. But going into the playoffs, so going into the, Arizona has not been playing well. They made the playoffs with an 11-6 record. And they even they beat the Cowboys. I believe it was week 17. They beat the Cowboys, and they were playing for a chance to win the division in week 18. The Rams were playing the 49ers, Cardinals were playing the Seahawks. Now, looking at those matchups, again, I felt like the Rams were going to win, so I didn't think we would win the division, but I thought we would beat the Seahawks. But the Rams ended up losing to the 49ers, which the 49ers clinched a playoff spot. Because if the 49ers would have lost, the Saints would have made the playoffs. So if 49ers won, they beat the Rams, which was the team that won the division. And the Seahawks ended up beating the Cardinals. We did not play well. We had more injuries, at the running back position. Edmonds was out again. James Conner was back but got hurt in the game. We had even our third or fourth string guy got hurt. So we were down to one running back, and we're not playing well. And note they have under the game tonight, the Rams have won 9 of the last 10 games versus Arizona. Their only win that Arizona has against the Rams was earlier this year, the first meeting in Los Angeles. And tonight's game is in Los Angeles. So that gives me a little hope that maybe we can beat the Rams. But I really don't have faith that we're going to win tonight. But I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to be decked out in my Arizona Cardinal gear. And I'm going to be rooting hard. I'll be tweeting all night. I just really want to – I'll be hoping, my Arizona Cardinals could squeak out a win and go to Tampa Bay next week. But I'm not – I don't have a bunch of hope that we will. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on tonight's game.
You're like one of my best friends, and I know the Cardinals are a team man, but I hope the Rams win it. I want Matty Ice to get one playoff win at least in his life.
Oh, yeah, Matty Stafford. At first, when you said Matty Ice, I was so confused who you were talking about.
Yeah, that's my bad, guys.
But yeah. I mean, Matt Stafford's a likable guy. I would love to see him win a playoff game tonight, and we will see. We will see what happens. We will try to hopefully record again, within the next couple of days. Maybe we can get a preview before next week's games, or if not, we'll record after next week's games and see where we are. But so going into some other news that's happened the last 4 or 5 weeks since we last recorded, Josh did pass away. Now, he coached the Raiders for 10 years. He had 112 to 39 and 7 overall record as a head coach. He was an AFL champion, so that was before the AFL and NFL ended up combining. He's also Super Bowl champion. He won Super Bowl 11. He had 30 years of professional broadcasting, and then the Madden NFL video game is named after him. So, again, that was just very sad news to hear that he passed away, and we send prayers to his family and friends and just anyone that cares about him or his games. But what were your thoughts on him passing away?
Dude, I was honestly devastated. Like a legend, and it was shocking. I was very shocked to hear that he died.
Yeah, it was. I'll be honest. I was kind of surprised. At first, I was kind of surprised he was still alive. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but some reason I thought he passed away previously. But it's gonna be different because it's kind of weird because he's been alive all these years. They probably recycled old recordings of him talking, but also he probably recorded new things every year for the Madden game. And now, this year's Madden will probably be the last one that has his voice, his recordings, like of newer recordings, if that makes sense, on the game. So
yeah, it's nuts. I was surprised.
Yeah. I'm trying to look. Oh, let's go on to something else. I don't know if you watched the so since we recorded, Alabama went on to beat Cincinnati in the semifinals of the college football playoffs. It was really no competition. Cincinnati tried their best, but they couldn't get the offense going against Alabama. And Bryce Young, which is the Heisman winner, just did really well. He took care of business, made it to the national championship. And then Georgia ended up beating Michigan, which I really wanted Michigan to win. But Georgia was just hands down a better team. Their defense was the best in college football all year. They just had that one hiccup in the SEC championship game against Alabama. And so it was a rematch of the SEC championship in the national championship, Georgia versus Alabama. I don't know if you ended up watching this game, but Georgia, the first half of the game, Alabama, Georgia, neither team could get anything going on offense. It was like a field goal, just field goals everywhere. You get a field goal, I get a field goal. Everyone gets a field goal. But the second half, that's when both offenses start going, and Georgia ended up coming out and winning. The Stetson Bennett story, I don't know if I can really find it right now. But man, oh man, he walked on at Georgia. I'll have to find it, but once we get to that, we'll come back to it. But he ended up walking on. He was a back. He ended up transferring to a JUCO and then transferring back to Georgia. He won the starting job and then lost it. And then he won it again, ended up winning a national championship. On top of him just being a lifelong Georgia fan. That's kind of just a crazy story. And, it's awesome for him. And I'll be honest, during the championship game and even in the games previously, I tweeted that Georgia should put JT Daniels back in because I just think JT Daniels is a little bit better, but apparently all his teammates they like Stetson better, and Stetson ended up playing out of his mind and winning a national championship for the team he's rooted for his whole life. So that's just an awesome story.
Yeah, that is. Going back to the Rams a little bit, though, they did sign someone. They brought Eric Weddle out of retirement to come play safety for him.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, and I was kind of surprised because, I wasn't sure when was didn't Eric Weddle retire like 2 years ago? Or
2 or
something
3.
like that? So, he's been out of the league for a couple of years, and the Rams just called him up for the playoffs and was like, hey, do you want to come back? And he did it, which is really surprising because I was like, I don't know if he's even in football shape, but hey, if he's got a chance, good for him, I guess.
He retired in 2019.
Yeah, 2019. So it's been 2 years, and he didn't play all season, and they just call him up, and he ends up signing, so he's ready to play. So, good for him. I guess we'll see what happens with whether he gets to play much. I don't know if he's slated to start or get snaps, or if he's just a depth piece.
He's 37 years old.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure he's going to be giving you much on the field to begin with, but so he might be more of a depth piece, but good for him. He's getting another payday, another chance to play football. If they win tonight, 2 more games. If they lose tonight, just 1 more game, I guess. So,
yeah.
Going back to college football, this was CJ Stroud, quarterback for Ohio State. In the Rose Bowl game this year, he was 37 for 46 for 572 yards and 6 TDs. It was also a historic night for his receiver, Jackson Smith. I don't know what his last part of his name is, but he had an FBS Bowl receiving record, which was 15 receptions for 347 receiving yards and 3 TDs. He broke Ohio State's single-game receiving record and Ohio State's receiving record for a season after that game. And also, the receiver that played next to him is Marvin Harris's son. So that was kind of cool to see that too. But just like Alabama, Ohio State is they have receivers that come in every year. Once the top 2 guys go into the draft, there's another 2 guys ready to go that are going to be first round picks the next year. And they have, it's crazy because both those wide receiver rooms are like 10 receivers deep of 5-star receivers. It's crazy. 2 guys, graduate, another 2 are ready to go, be first round picks. Those 2 guys graduate, another 2 guys are ready to go. So it's crazy. So
Yeah, they make some really good wide receivers.
Yeah, so that was a crazy game for CJ. We'll see. See how next year goes. He may end up. He was in the Heisman running this past year, so he may end up being a first round pick next year. But we will see what happens with Ohio State next year. They do open Notre Dame. I'm pretty sure next year at Ohio. I think I have looked at tickets for that game. They're pretty expensive, but I don't know. It'd be a pretty cool game to go to if I got the chance. So, in other news, on January, there was reportedly that the Packers and Rodgers have improved their relationship, and so bringing back Rodgers is organization's number one priority this season. So, my question to you is, what do you think's going to happen?
They're going to bring Aaron Rodgers back, and they're going to trade Jordan Love.
Yeah, see, I think they're going to do everything they can to bring Rodgers back. But I do think Rodgers will play the market because they restructured that deal where he does become a free agent after this year. I think he'll play around with either whether he wants to play or retire because he was leaning about retiring a little bit last year, but he ended up coming back. If they do bring Rodgers back, I do not think they will trade Jordan Love because they got to have a insurance option. Whether Rodgers, because if Rodgers wanted to retire this past offseason, he'll probably play again with it this year. If he even did come back next year, the next offseason, I'm sure he'll be playing around with it again. But we'll see. Tom Brady's still playing, and he's 44, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. He's probably got another year, maybe 2 years left in him. So if Aaron Rodgers wants to, he probably keep playing for another. And this is probably why you're saying they would probably trade Jordan Love, because he could probably play another 5-7 years if he wanted. But the question is, does Rodgers want to do that? Because right now the Packers are the best team in the NFC. If they win a Super Bowl, I think that closes the door. I think if they win a Super Bowl, I think Aaron Rodgers goes out on top. He retires. He goes and does whatever he wants to do post football. So that might be a hot take. And if you're a Packers fan listening to this, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong. And if you don't think so, tweet at us. Let us know your thoughts on what Aaron Rodgers will do this offseason. So, do you
I think he comes back. I really think he comes back.
He might, but like what happened, what will happen. But this, so the week that AB ended up quitting, this was quite a stat, and it was tweeted by Field Yates. But Tom Brady has 315 career starts to that point. So this was on January 2nd. So since then, he's had 3 more starts, I believe. But the entire Jets starting defense had a combined of 313 career starts. So Tom Brady has played more in NFL games than every single defensive player starting for the Jets that week combined.
Wow.
I know we talk about Tom Brady and records every single week or every single podcast, but you can't make up these things. So man, it's crazy. So, see, I'm finally getting to the AB stuff. I see it everything that he's done over the past few years. We could talk about that, but Robert Quinn ended up breaking the Chicago Bears single season sack record, which was really surprising because Robert Quinn did not do well last year, and there was a lot of people in Chicago that did not want him back because he was getting paid a lot of money and he wasn't very good. But he came out this year and broke the sack record. He played really well, and Bears fans seemed to love him. And
I was actually at that game and watched it, and Robert Quinn was a force to be reckoned with that entire game.
That's awesome, man. I've only been to one NFL game, and I looked into going to the Cardinals-Bears game this year, but I was busy that weekend, and I couldn't make it happen. But That was awesome. How was the experience of being
Um,
in an NFL game?
Bears fans are the best. Oh, I love Bear fans. Um, Honestly, the Bears don't look bad. Their defense not that bad, just their offense.
And since then, so like since we haven't recorded, the Bears did fire Matt Nagy. They did fire Ryan Pace. So hopefully they hire the right guy. I don't know who they'll hire. And I know after the press conference with whoever it was, after they fired both of them, Bears fans were not very hopeful. It's I think it's George McClaskey or something like that. They don't really like him. So they're not. A lot of Bears fans are not hopeful that they will hire the right guy, but we'll see what happens. But so I finally found AB's antics. So this is the timeline. So December 30th of 2018, he was benched by the Steelers. A couple weeks later, Steelers offense coordinator Arians, they call AB a diva. And then in 2019, so in February, AB involved in a domestic dispute, found guilty of reckless driving. AB Steelers part ways. So then a month later, AB is traded to the Raiders. And 5 months later, so in August, he does that. He froze his feet mishap. I don't even know how that happened, but he did it. And then later that month, he filed grievance versus an NFL for the helmets because he liked his old helmet or whatever. I don't know. And then in September, AB has he has a dispute with Mayock, which was the GM for the Raiders. So 2 days later, he's released by the Raiders. He joins the Patriots. On the 10th, so 3 days later, he has the sexual assault lawsuit. So 5 days later, AB plays the only game with the Pats. He has a TD, and then 5 days later, the Pats release him amid the lawsuit. And then, so this was the so January of 2020. So this was like 5 months later. He's arrested for felony, boogerly, battery charges against moving company. And then 6 months later, he receives an 8-game suspension due to off-field issues. And then 3 months later, the Bucs sign him. And then he wins a Super Bowl. AB has a TD during that. And then on 11/18 of 2021, he was accused of having a fake COVID vaccine card. And then a month later, it was a couple weeks later, he received a 3-game suspension due to having a fake vaccine card. Now, this was after he said he did not have a fake vaccine card. And then he returns, leads the Buccaneers to a W. He had 10 receptions for 101 yards. And then a few weeks later, or 2 games later, he has that mid-game outburst, takes off his shirt, and leaves the stadium. Talk about if you want to make a move. Literally after he walked off the field, I tweeted and I said, when is ESPN making the 30 for 30? Because I got to watch it. I mean, that is a script, a show, an episode, whatever you want. You can make a movie, episode, whatever you want to make out of it. You can make it after all that stuff. So,
AB needs help, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to cover?
Not that I could think of. Who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl?
Ooh, who's going to win the Super Bowl? Let me look at the. Do they have next week's? Oh, let's see. Wild card weekend. Okay, division playoffs. So let's see the games next week. So hey, since we got some time, let's give our predictions for next week, and then we can give our prediction on who we think is going to win the Super Bowl. So it looked like Saturday, first game next week, is Bengals at Tennessee. So what is your predictions on that game?
I think the Bengals are going to win.
You think the Bengals are going to take down the Titans?
Yep.
I think it's a little of a hot take, but if Derrick Henry doesn't play well, and Tennessee, at times, though they have played well this year, you know, I do think there's a chance that the Bengals could win. I don't know how good the Bengals defense is, but if they can stop the Titans, I could definitely see it. I don't know how their defense is, so we'll see. That would be awesome to see the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. But I think I'm gonna go the East. I'm gonna go the Titans winning. But if the Titans don't win and the Chiefs end up winning, then the Chiefs have home field advantage in the AFC Championship. But if the Titans lose and the Chiefs lose, the Bills would be hosting the Bengals. So it could be very interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. But my prediction is I'm going to go the Titans beating the Bengals. But don't bet against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. So next game, so Saturday night next week, 49ers at Green Bay. Again, I've gave this prediction. I do think the Packers will win. But if there's a team that could beat the Packers, I definitely think it's the 49ers. So
Green Bay hands down is going to win.
Green Bay, yep, I think it's a solid bet, and that means the NFC Championship game will be in Green Bay. And we know this time of the year you do not want to be in Green Bay because it's very cold, and so and if it's the Buccaneers, so whoever wins tonight, whether it's Rams-Cardinals, and if they lose on Sunday against the Buccaneers, the Buccaneers would have to travel, warm weather all the way to Green Bay. But Tom Brady did play in New England for, 20 plus years. He's used to the cold. I'm sure they would be fine. But I think the Buccaneers, Packers in an NFC Championship game is probably something we'll see. So that goes on to the next prediction. Whoever wins tonight, I think the Buccaneers will beat them.
I think the Rams win tonight and then they beat the Bucs.
You think they'll beat the Bucs? I think it could definitely happen. But the Rams really haven't been playing well lately either. They did lose going into the playoffs against the 49ers. So, and they almost lost, the NFC West to the Cardinals. So, I don't know. I think the Buccaneers are a better team, but Buccaneers do have a lot of injuries. Fournette's out, AB quit, Godwin's out.
And got back Cam Akers.
Yeah, the Rams did get back Cam Akers, so it could definitely be some that could happen. So we will see. But that is going into it's a 5:30 start time on next Sunday. But Chiefs Bills, what is your prediction?
I'm gonna have to go the Bills, man. I don't know. I got a feeling the Bills.
If Garrett, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to go the Bills too. Although the Bills have not looked as good as we thought they would look good, as good as they did, or they haven't looked as good as we thought they would be. I just last week's win, they have the momentum, but again, I think didn't the Chiefs and the Bills score the same amount of points? So you could say both teams are hot right now, and it's gonna be a good game. The Bills they're gonna want revenge after losing the AFC Championship last year. So I think it could go either way. I'm gonna go the Bills, but I would not be surprised if the Chiefs end up coming and winning. So, but
Bills have that chip on their shoulder from when they lost last time, and they're ready.
Yeah, I could see that. So now let's go into your prediction. Who do you think will be in the Super Bowl? This is the first week of the playoffs, so we'll do this every single week, doing our prediction on who we think will be in the Super Bowl. But after majority of the games this week, only one more left. Who do you think will be in the Super Bowl?
Oof. I think it's going to be a Bills-Packers Super Bowl.
Bills-Packers. I could definitely see that happening. I'm going to say I think it's going to be Packers. I just don't think this Buccaneers team is as good as it was last year. So I'm going to go Packers. But AFC, I'm going to have to go Bills. I'm going to have to go the same prediction. Because, it's crazy. I wanted to say Chiefs, but then I just said I think the Bills are going to win next Sunday. So Bills, Packers.
So I think the Chiefs defense will not be able to stop the Bills. And the Bills defense won't be able to stop Chiefs, but it's going to get that occasional, punt or field goal. I don't think Chiefs defense is going to stop the Bills at all.
Well, I will say with both these teams, they really don't have good running games. So it's just a matter of whose quarterback is going to play better, who's going to make less mistakes.
Devin Singletary's been looking good the last few weeks.
He's not bad, but every week when I look at the box scores, it's like 15, 13 carries for 50 or 60 yards. So, like, it's not bad numbers, but nothing spectacular. Like, I don't know if he's really he's not really, like, won the Bills a game, if that makes sense. And then the Chiefs don't have a good running game either. What'd you say?
Devin Singletary scored 2 touchdowns last week?
I think he did score 2, but they slaughtered the Patriots. So, like, he did play well last week. So I will say out of the Bills and the Chiefs, the Bills do have a better run game, I believe. But like I said, I think it's going to come down to who makes less mistakes, the quarterback-wise, between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. So do you have anything else you would like to say before we wrap up this podcast?
I appreciate you guys always bearing with us. I know we say we're going to get better and we never do, but we're trying, guys. We really are. We're just super busy.
Yeah, we've been busy, but so before we end it, so Devin Singletary did have 2 TDs and he also had 81 rush yards. So he had a pretty good game, but they did slaughter the Patriots. So so he did have a good game. Their run game was pretty good last week. So that's what I'm gonna go the Bills. Josh Allen last week. So looking at his stats, he had 5 TDs. He had more TDs than he had incompletions because he was 21 for 25 last week for 308 yards. So I'm gonna go the Bills. Dable, which is the offense coordinator, he's also getting a lot of head coaching interviews. So I think he'll land somewhere. So
yeah.
But that is all we have. Like Logan said, we just thank you for listening every week, and we apologize for not being able to record every week. We're just busy. But with the playoffs starting now, we will try our best to give you a podcast every week to listen to. And then it may end up being shorter podcasts, episodes, but we'll try to get it recorded. So again, thanks for listening. We hope you have a great rest of the day, and we hope that you keep listening, and we will have more content for you in the future.
Have a good one, guys.